was not always drawn to teaching. I was in college and got a job at an after-school program, and they warned me about a kid who had been labeled problematic, and he came up to me one day and just gave me the biggest hug, and I knew in that moment that I wanted to be a teacher, and I went in a week later and changed my major. When I started teaching, I didn't anticipate all of the challenges and hurdles, especially as a first-year teacher. You don't know all of these things, and you're kind of expected to meet all of these kids where they're at, pull them up to a certain level while meeting their social and emotional needs at the same time. So it can be incredibly challenging as a teacher in general, but when you have students who have faced trauma, they can come in one day and be totally fine with your routine, and then come in the next and your same exact routine really sets them off. I know that the statistics for children who are being sexually abused are escalating, but as a teacher, it is extremely hard to identify when a child is being abused.
I'm a retired corporal. I've been 27 years of law enforcement experience. In that experience, especially in this space, have headed up our human trafficking task force and sat on many task forces on the law enforcement community. With that kind of experience, 27 years of doing this particular issue is so prevalent in all of our communities. So many people think, because it seems to be hidden in many cases, they seem to think that there's really not a lot of this going on, when the truth of the matter is, if you pull back the curtain from our communities, we can see this particular activity happening again and again and again. Children are trusting, and they're trusting in that environment that they're raised in. They're built to be trusting. And so in that trusting environment, that's why this becomes so horrific, is because oftentimes within that trust environment, that's when they're abused. And they're abused by family, they're abused by close friends, they're abused in systems that were designed supposedly to protect them. And so it's those trusting environments that give the cover for this type of activity to happen so oftentimes, and it goes undisclosed because of those reasons. Children don't want to rat, they don't want to tell on those people that they have been told are their trusted people. One story, many voices, sits in a very unique space when it comes to authentic training like this, because it takes the collection of lived experiences, puts it into one resource. Having a resource like this is invaluable to understand the horrific nature of this criminal activity, but to see it through the authentic voices of those who have lived the experience.
Over the past 45 years invested in education, in many different capacities, I can't think of anything more rewarding than to be an educator. And what I know as a consultant into schools is that effective teachers teach beyond the curriculum, and what they are champions in doing is creating an atmosphere of safety and security for kids. What we know of trauma is that it grabs the hands of millions of children and adults across the world. And it walks into every venue in society, especially in a classroom where learning and reasoning and logic are affected. A really beautiful outcome of the writing of this book has been that we have come alongside of survivors who are not afraid to speak. And that wasn't the case many years ago. What we find to be so beautiful is that carrying our own story becomes much more powerful when we share it with other people. And so the power of this book was to recognize that if we could come alongside of educators and provide ways to identify red flags and to help them to report and document in proper ways and become a systems team in passing that information to authorities who can help stop the sexual exploitation. That's our mission.
My favorite aspect of One Story, Many Voices has been providing numerous survivors who were sexually exploited as children a safe and anonymous platform to share their heroic stories in order to better help educators understand the obstacles children face in disclosing abuse and how to support them in trauma-informed ways. In working with numerous survivors who were sexually exploited as children, we've learned how difficult it is for children to advocate for themselves and disclose abuse. Many survivors don't even share their stories until they are adults. We see the challenges teachers face in the classroom. We see the challenges children face when it comes to disclosing abuse. That's why we created a resource like One Story, Many Voices. If you are a professional working with children, whether it be an educator, a physician, a health professional, we encourage you, get a copy of One Story, Many Voices and lean in. We ask that you would join us in the fight for those who can't fight for themselves.